Today I have some problems with my voice, but I will try to speak. As Professor Cengiz mentioned, our main topic here is analyzing the extensions of AHP and NAP in international conferences. And so I will briefly talk about extensions of fuzzy sets, which is the main tool that we focus on in this paper. And then I will talk about conferences and trends about fuzzy sets, and finally trends about AHP and ANP using fuzzy extensions, and I will make a conclusion. First of all, in this study, we try to examine the trends about fuzzy extensions of AHP and NAP in international conferences, because conferences are important in terms of new ideas. So maybe in the later phase, we can, as Sezi focused on the journals, this is a focus on international conferences only. So we try to find the top international conferences which publish AHP and NAP, and we will make a brief literature review to see the trends. So, why we use fuzzy is a good question. So indeed, it is not possible to exactly show if crisp AHP or crisp fuzzy AHP is better. I will make some conclusions about some details about our comparison in the slides. But we can say there are some theoretical advantages. So with triangular fuzzy numbers or fuzzy sets in general, we can say that the information can be better represented. And with the extensions of fuzzy sets, we can say, like intuinistic fuzzy set, Pythagorean fuzzy set, spherical fuzzy sets, and all others, they also represent hesitancy in decision makers' mind in a better way. So we can say they are handling hesitancy or vaguenesses in decision-making problem in other ways. And in fuzzy AHP, we can use hesitant linguistic AHP, and we can use some special words like at least, blah, blah, between, blah, blah. So it's also a relaxation for decision makers. And when we use in group decision making, when we aggregate data, fuzzy sets still helps us use a range of values. And especially hesitant AHP or hesitant fuzzy sets, they can deal with different membership values at the same time. So maybe we don't need to aggregate the data to finalize the AHP process. So these are some issues about fuzzy. And finally, I mentioned it before, but here I want to say one more time, we made a comparison about the results. We formed all 3x3 and 4x4 matrices. We formed more than 24 million matrices, and we applied 6 main methods in our study. The classical 5 crisp AHP methods and 1 fuzzy Buckley AHP method, and we then compared the results. And we compared the results with respect to power method, which is best known or most commonly used method, to see the similarity between the results of the methods, because we cannot directly say one method is better than the other one. And we did it for all possible matrices and consistent matrices. And here you can see the numbers. It is 1,000 for 3x3 and 800,000 for 4x4. And here we can see that the results are interesting. As I said, the power method is not in the table because we assume that it is correct. It's a big assumption, but we say this, and we compare the other methods results with it. So here we can see that in 3x3 and 4x4 matrices, we can see that Buckley's AHP performs similar with geometric mean, or at least it has some differences, of course, but it is not it doesn't give a very different result. And when we look at the root mean square error, we can also see that Buckley AHP performs better than some of the other methods, better in terms of being similar to power method. And in consistent matrices, we can again say that Buckley AHP gives similar results with mean of normalized values, geometric mean, and power method. And some words about consistency. With this study, since we calculated all the values for matrices, indeed, when we take the average of consistency index, we find the real population index of random index, because in the literature, random index is performed by doing sampling. In this study, we calculated all the matrices, so we can now find the exact average consistency index. So this was a comparison. Now I want to go on with extensions of fuzzy sets. Sezi and Professor Kahraman already mentioned these sets, but I can mention that all these sets have a different view about representing information. So in decision-making process, we can use them to handle the vaguenesses in different ways. And there are some more, even more fuzzy sets which we cannot include to this figure. Now I want to go on with number of conference papers which use fuzzy extensions. Here, AHP and ANP is not involved yet. It will show the general usage of extensions of fuzzy sets in conferences. And here the results reveal that intuinistic fuzzy sets and type 2 fuzzy sets are the most popular fuzzy set extensions. But of course, we must keep in mind that they are relatively old with some of the other methods. And here you can see the trends about papers in a figure. As I said, intuinistic fuzzy sets, spherical fuzzy sets, and Q-rank auto-pairs fuzzy sets show a positive trend. And we couldn't see the trend in the previous slide, but here we can see the trends now. And type 2 especially has a negative trend after 2015. As I mentioned, these are not about AHP. These are general trends on conferences. Here in this slide, we can see AHP with classical AHP or crisp AHP and fuzzy AHP conference papers. We can easily see that crisp AHP is published more than fuzzy AHP papers. So in order to understand the details about this result, we tried to get all the conferences publishing AHP and fuzzy AHP papers, and in the last 5 years, and we tried to make the data in a unique way so that we can find the total number of AHP and fuzzy AHP methods. In the first table, you can see that this table is about crisp AHP or classical AHP publishing conferences. Isahp AHP is the leading organization here, and in other or an interesting result can be said that, like, the second one is industrial engineering conference, the third one is material science conference, the fourth one is remote sensing conference, etc. So we can say that this conference is focusing on AHP, but most AHP publishing conferences are from very different areas. And when we take a look at the second table, we can see that INFUS International Conference on Intelligent Fuzzy Sets, which is chaired by Professor Kahraman, has the most fuzzy AHP paper with respect to the other papers, the other conferences. But here again, the second most publishing one is International Conference on Industrial Engineering and Engineering Management. But we can see from the third and fourth one, they are fuzzy related conferences. So the first one is also fuzzy related. Third and fourth one is fuzzy conferences. So we can say that fuzzy AHP is more published in specific fuzzy related conferences. And when we compare the results, eliminating the first one, we can see that the numbers are very low when compared to fuzzy AHP conference papers. So when we combine it with this table, we can say that AHP is used more than fuzzy AHP, but in single conferences, it is published lower than fuzzy AHP. So we can say that fuzzy AHP is generally published in very specific areas. And here we can see the number of conference papers which use fuzzy extensions and AHP and AMP. Here we can say that the results reveal that intuinistic fuzzy sets and type 2 fuzzy sets are the most popular fuzzy extension in the field of fuzzy extensions of AHP. And the third one is Pythagorean fuzzy sets, and hesitant and neurosophic sets are also popular. And from the other list, we can talk about spherical fuzzy sets. And here the results show that intuinistic fuzzy sets have been widely used between 2015 and 2018. And let me briefly talk about the graph. We collected or summed up the paper numbers each year, and we looked at the ratio, the percentage of each fuzzy extension during that year. And here we can say that intuinistic fuzzy sets has been widely used between 2015 and 2018. Type 2 fuzzy sets had been popular in 2012, but slightly lost the popularity since then. In a similar way, hesitant fuzzy sets have been highly published between 2015 and 2016. Lately, neurosophic sets have gained popularity in 2019. In recent years, different fuzzy extensions have been used for conference papers, and in 2021, spherical fuzzy sets have the lead in the number of conference papers. Now, I want to conclude with some words. So we can say that our study has some key findings. The conference papers using fuzzy AHP and ANP is less than conference papers which use AHP without fuzzy. And the most leading conferences are Isahp, this conference for traditional AHP, and INFUS conference for fuzzy AHP. Fuzzy AHP and AMP is generally published in conferences which directly focus on fuzzy sets. However, AHP, the classical one, are published in wide range of conferences. Please remember in the top 5, there was remote sensing, there was information engineering, etc. And our final conclusion is extensions of fuzzy sets are also integrated with AHP and ANP. In this field, intuinistic fuzzy sets and type 2 fuzzy sets are the most commonly used fuzzy extensions. Besides, recently spherical fuzzy sets are gaining more popularity. Thanks, and if you have any questions, I want to answer.
Thank you, Dr. Öztaş.
I don't know how our time is going, but I would like to ask Dr. Öztaş a question. Do you know of an example where they applied fuzzy AHP to make a real decision and then implemented it? Did it actually get used, or was it, could you?
Indeed, we can only know what is written in the papers, and in conference papers, there are some page limitations. So I couldn't see a significant data about how they used it or they implemented or not. It was not written. So I don't have any idea about the scope of this paper.
I just wondered if you're actually involving real people on the ground to make a decision. If
we are
able to, do what's necessary to.
Indeed. The mathematical side of AHP can be a kind of hard to understand. But when you look at the process, it is about a decision hierarchy. This part is the same. And how do you operate with a single matrix is similar. For a decision maker, using AHP or AMP does not, AHP, fuzzy AHP or crisp AHP does not matter because the main inputs are the same. If I didn't misunderstand you. So it is hard to make AHP when there are lots of criteria. It is also hard to apply fuzzy AHP when criteria are
but it
also
doesn't take any more work on the part of the decision makers. They get
yes,
the answer.
yes. Indeed, maybe if we have time, I can show you. Yeah, I have as I mentioned, there are some results we prepared a software for this, and for a minute I can show it to you if we have time. Indeed, this is how we created these millions of tables. And here in this Excel, the decision maker can easily enter the data inside. If he wants to use approximate method, he should click on this one. If fuzzy, this one. So the decision makers are not involved with this mathematical sides. So if we have a professional software like expert choice decision as the fuzzy version, all the process will be similar, only the results may have some differences.
I guess my question would be, did you compare, do you have any way to say that using the fuzzy process somehow gave you a better decision?
Yeah, indeed. Let me show you my results or our results. There are 5 different or 4 different ways of calculating weights.
No.
And as far as I know, it is not. Sorry.
I got it. You have a good way of calculating, and I really like your spreadsheet. But I'm just saying, do you have any way of estimating how well it worked? Okay. I think I misunderstood. Is there a way to calculate which of the non-fuzzy methods are better?
No.
Well, I don't think it's a calculation issue. I think you have to ask people whose decision it was.
Actually, maybe I can contribute a little bit. In one of our recent studies, we used it in a project we concluded with the biggest GSM operator in Turkey. They have a lot of debtors, and they wanted to find out the performances of the law firms who actually evaluate who deal with those debtors. So this was our project, and at the end of this project, we use Heston fuzzy sets. Heston fuzzy sets. In the Heston fuzzy AHP, you can define things like between, more than, less than, and so on. So when we use those approaches, they said that we actually compared with the classical AHP and this approach. And since these are the company managers and doesn't know they have various knowledges on the legal processes, but they have to somehow evaluate the legal companies. So the knowledge levels vary a lot, but they were the decision makers. This is how the company is organized. So what they said is that I feel more comfortable while using a linguistic term like between, more than, at least, at most. And so I think in that concept, they said that we would like to go with the hastened IHP. So they are still using